Don't take my word for it, just watch.
If I had to come up with a Mount Rushmore of American trucks, I'd better get paid for it. Well, the first face on there would probably have to belong to the GMT 400 series Chevys. They're simply incredibly iconic in my eyes. After that, probably the second gen Ford F100. Twice. And finally, I'd have to go with a bit more of a recent truck, again the second generation Dodge Ram. As can be the case with anything revolutionary, its accomplishments might seem antiquated by today's standards. But that can purely be the case because every truck that follows the '94 Ram copied so many of its innovative elements that it might just seem like trucks have always been the way that they are. But let it be known, it was this Ram that introduced the novel idea of putting rear doors on both sides, creating a 4-door extended cab. Many amenities, even luxury features, became available alongside the creature comforts that the truck was filled with. And perhaps most importantly of all, the second generation Dodge Ram revolutionized truck design by adopting a, at the time, controversial design. Initial design studies looked, well, pretty bad actually, like a minivan with the rear chopped off. Eventually, with influences including old 50s Studebaker trucks, the new Ram morphed into a design that looked unlike anything else on the streets, quite obviously inspired by full-size big rigs. This brawny look still reverberates in modern truck styling, where everything is as tall and as powerful as possible. All of this traces its origins back to the '94 Ram. With all of this in mind, it's not surprising then that this model has become a bit of an icon, its legacy cemented as the introduction of the pickup as a personal family vehicle, a legendary thing. Except there is just one thing tainting its legacy, not counting the gearboxes.
This is the infamous second-gen Dodge Dash, and this is what it does.
It's decently normal for any car's dashboard to start showing signs of cracking or fading after decades of being exposed to the sun. It's just what UV exposure and heat can do. Old Ram dashboards don't just crack though, they shatter like pottery. It's hard, if not impossible, to find any other car or even vehicle with this type of behavior. By this point, it's been cemented as a notorious flaw in 90s Rams. So why? Why on earth does this happen?
Many of you have heard me talk about reinventing the Chrysler Corporation, but sometimes words or even 60-second commercials don't do justice to something as profound as the changes we made at Chrysler.
At around the same time development was beginning on the new truck, the Chrysler Corporation was doing rather well for once. Sales were up, and as such, profits from all of its different divisions were vast. That includes their parts-making division, revenues of which surpassed $2.8 billion in 1986. In factual terms, that is a lot of money, and so Chrysler decided they wanted some more of it. If they were to expand the parts-making business into a full-blown subsidiary, they'd be able to properly compete with all automotive parts suppliers, as not only would they provide parts manufacturing for Chrysler and its brands, but also other automakers. Ford, GM, Toyota, the like. What came of this was AccuStar. Indeed, a full-on subsidiary that allowed them to sell parts both internally and externally. This lasted all but a few years before Chrysler began mass restructuring efforts in light of a downturn in the company's fortunes following the recession of the early 90s. Chrysler was hemorrhaging money and, in a short-sighted move, began shedding parts of itself to gain some much-needed cash. For example, AccuStar. Come 1993, the plastics division would be sold off to the conglomerate Textron in a deal worth $138 million, who then took control of 4 Accustar factories. Chrysler would no longer be producing their own plastic injection trim parts, as everything would now be outsourced to external suppliers. External suppliers like Textron, getting parts from the same factories they just sold off. From this point on, the external suppliers were trusted with developing and engineering the parts which would be installed in the cars.
In the old way, we controlled everything, and we went out and found people to make it like we thought they ought to make it. And now we're going back and saying, well, if you make radios, you know more about it than we do, and you should be the expert in it. And it turns out they are.
With the job of making plastic parts moving to the hands of an outside supplier seeking to make maximum profits, segue.
I don't know why they always say, oh, Dodge second-gen dashes are so like brittle and how they're always cracked.
Something went wrong in the manufacturing process, most likely as a result of cutting costs. The dash itself is made of basic ABS plastic, which is pretty usual. What it lacks is proper UV protection, allowing the sun and general heat to do their jobs. As a result, in colder, more northern climates, this issue doesn't seem to be as widespread. Another reason why Canada is superior then. There are plenty of other theories when it comes to this. For example, the theory that the plastic moldings were designed incorrectly, allowing unnecessary moisture to get in. Another theory states that they contain too much talc powder as a filler material, which weakens the plastic considerably. These theories might hold some merit. They might be completely true, but I can't be certain enough to give out a concrete answer. So let's use Cunningham's law here. I am stating as a fact that the true reason behind this comes down to the supplier using cheaper than usual thermoplastics with little to no UV protection. It took less than a decade for these problems to start emerging. Owners would report their dashboards beginning to crack, having multiple large cracks form, or just straight up having them disintegrate. Or even better, owners would report pieces of plastic flying through the air vents as they were driving. Hey, at least you've got some extra storage space now. To make matters worse, dealers weren't helping, as the warranty had usually expired by the time these things needed replacing.
He told me that it wasn't a recall item, so there was absolutely nothing they'd do about it.
Dealerships in general refused to address the problem as it was considered cosmetic. So naturally, owners went and filed complaints to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA. Thousands of complaints were eventually filed, leading the NHTSA to start an investigation into the issue. Even by the early 2000s, this was too big to ignore.
The following is a message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hi. The agency is aware of the condition and is reviewing consumer complaints, but at this moment, we see no basis on which to open a safety defect investigation. You see, when you crash into that Corolla in front of you and sharp fragments of plastic are flying into your eyeballs at the speed of light, it simply isn't a safety issue. Just don't crash in the first place. As always, we will continue to monitor the issue. Any investigations into horribly breaking dashboards ended more than 20 years ago. To date, no recall has ever been issued. Owners have been left to deal with this mess on their own. That's why there's a buzzing aftermarket industry with replacement dashboards or dash covers specifically designed with the express purpose of not disintegrating. You know, the second-gen Ram was apparently the very first vehicle designed entirely with computers. The next-gen Ram is going to have the same problem, isn't it? And thank you to all of our new Corsa members: JKS60R, Sam, Mateo Sanrado, Creshy, Shambler Bowler, Takao, Checkletube, Men of War 2000, The Electrician, HSA, Caleb Walker, SPZ550, Jamal the Goat, Ozan Eraslan, Thomas, Edits in the Flesh, Francis Santo, I Hate You Rares, EDU, Benobi, Mateo Müller, Nico, Liebesleid, John Dundash, Tudor Koka, Igor Angelgovski, Dude Dudson, Dano Vic, Hakan Yakta, Yavuz Yazgan, Ege Türkilmaz, Darius, Leon Hutchcock, Mark Alabama, Cozy, Venomy, Alex Lowe, Justuxable, FAS, Mk2 Vex Redder, Paco, Nassar, Bronco Maniac, oh my god, it's OJ Simpson, Tim Gardner, Jacob Literal, Free For All, Long Nguyen, Safi Does Yo-Yo, Yunus Emre Baştabak, Clayton Agius, Drunken Duck, Chris LV, Shock, Ken Eric, and ACS.